Okay, so here we are at Dorylaeum from the Men at Iron series Infidel. And the Seljuks get the first move, and we've got, I don't know who the hell this is. Leader A, yes. We've got some unnamed force. This is, has the option to be placed either over here or coming down off these eastern hillside. They decide to come off the east and try to head for the Crusader infantry. The Seljuks lost continuity. They tried to activate over here. I repositioned my leaders so that they were in command. The Seljuks actually have an overall commander. It looks like Bohemond does. He has little stars as though he is. I don't know if that's really terribly visible, but the truth of the matter is he doesn't count as such for this. So there's no advantage for that. Instead, I took my free activation and moved Peter, who's not particularly easy to move, especially seeing as he has rabble. I'm trying to get the rabble behind the cav. It's cheap victory points if I just leave them out there, and the fact that the Seljuks didn't go up and start to position themselves for them, well, I'm taking that as kind of an advantage. So, we see the first real engagement. We've got that one little unit came sweeping around to try to deal with the pikemen. But, much more interesting, the right flank wing came slicing in, shooting up, and they're allowed to fire while moving and then continue moving, assuming they don't get killed by a charge. They swept through and cut up Bohemond's unit, actually. Among other things, they killed Bohemond. He's not the overall army commander, even though he's got those stars, so he's only worth 2 retreat points. But you'll see there's a number of retired cav units. They actually got very lucky with some of their shots. But they also lost a horse to a countercharge in there. And they got a couple disordered units, which is going to be kind of a problem. We'll put Bohemond's replacement on the line. And continue onward with what we have here. Currently, here's our points. We got 2 Seljuk flight points and 5 total Crusader points. Oh, that's probably wrong. 4 should be 6. If you remember from the Men of Iron series in general, when units are retired, they're worth a point towards the flight point track. The points are a little different in this game. I think knights are worth 3. They used to be worth 2 in general. Most cav are worth 2, and then all infantry are just 1 because they're crap, whatever they are. And that includes the real crap. Alright, so we got a possible continuation. I'll keep going, see if the Seljuks get a turn. Another turn. They've got a penalty on their continuation. And here we've got, I've got Raymond marking here. Every time there's an automatic initiative for the Crusaders, they get a +1 to the die roll. Once they can roll an 11 on a 10-sider, they can start bringing in their reinforcements on those free initiatives or whatever. One thing I'm noticing here that I don't remember being a big deal in the other one, it's almost been an I go, you go, but without turns and without most of your army moving. So this guy went, then Peter went. Then this guy went, then Peter went. The ratings for continuations are fairly low. Bohemond had a 4. The Seljuks' highest is a 3. Most of the Crusaders are 3s. When you start adding that bonus in, we get a +1 on here now. Let's see if we get one. I'm going to try to move... I'm going to try to move this. He's got a +1, so he's a 3. But he's facing a +1, so he needs a 0-2. He doesn't get it. So initiative's going to pass to the Crusaders again. We'll roll to see if they... 9, 10, 11, they can start bringing reinforcements in. Okay. So the Crusaders took the free initiative to bring Raymond of Toulouse onto board. Then they got a continuation over with Bohemond's old troops. Of course, he's dead, and were set up to make a widespread scale charge against that group of Saracens, or Seljuks, Saracens, yeah, who ended up, hey, I'm a Crusader, of course I call them Saracens, who ended up shooting his command up. Probably going to break them pretty badly, we'll see. And here we are just before the charges get resolved. You see there's just shock markers on some of them. Those are units that have been disordered. Now they still have an advantage attacking, there's no question there, but they're not as potent as the charging cav. And again, a couple more of those Seljuk cav got destroyed. Got them knocked over there. Total flight points are at 6, equal to the Crusaders. This is not an easy fight for the Seljuks, there's no question. Especially with the reinforcements coming on so soon. I'm not sure how balanced the scenario is, because there's a good likelihood that they will come in fairly soon. Okay, so what do we have? Well, it's kind of hard to see because of the colors being so similar. There's actually some problems here with countermix too. So for example, you'll see we got these Cappadocians and these Cappadocians, and they look like these guys look like they belong to this command. I think that's counter misprint, but it may be that they're useful in other scenarios. It's hard to tell. The coloring choices is flawed at best. In this case, I think it's actually an error, but we'll see if other scenarios use those Cappadocians with different stripes. But certainly it's confusing to have them here. But here we got this pale blue versus dark blue. It's really too close. Okay. So we've got some continued attack markers. Now this one, he can't change facing, he's got no one to attack, so that's effectively gone. But this one has to continue. He must make an attack, and he's got a -1 to it. Let me take this guy off. And the net effect is pretty close to what we had. This guy disordered 1 unit. I don't think he affected that one at all. We've got this mess that's not very clear to distinguish because of the coloring, but you'll see we've got Seljuks here, here, and here, and what is this? Sicilians running there. The rest of the Sicilian cav is kind of scattered, is kind of back here near the camp, and they're actually probably too far to reform. Unfortunately, I've got all these infantry all over the camp, and it's going to make it really hard to reform my army. That's almost a necessity by the way the scenario setup is designed. I put the flag, maybe not as far as I could have, but kind of out of the way of things. I'll show you this guy. Shouldn't be there, I don't think. Should be back here. Let's face him in the swamp. Okay, but and now we get to see if we get more continuations, but we've already had one, so there's a 1-point penalty, and I don't know, I'm going to try to move Robert, because he's pretty good, and I do not get to, so it'll swing over to a Seljuk activation. And during the Seljuk automatic initiative, they slid behind the camp area and shot up and killed a couple of Crusader Knights, which raises the flight point up to 10 on them. They were unable to get another initiative, so it goes over to the Crusaders with a free choice. This is kind of the danger of this mass here, is that those were very, very vulnerable. The infantry got shot at too, but there was no effect to that. And we see some Crusader repositioning with Godfrey of Bouillon pulling in, hopefully on his side, trying to maybe help protect the rear of the camp forces. Then the Sicilians pulled back in order to try to reform. If they can make another charge, that's great, but that's not really in their goal right now. They just want to try to protect themselves and the infantry mass. And finally, Raymond cuts across, getting between this massive Seljuks and the poor peasantry. We all know how much the knights love the peasantry and want to protect them. I think that's what they're there for. And then a failed continuation, whatever, goes over. It's going to be the Seljuk side. Seljuk Cav came in, harassed the Sicilians again. Then the Sicilians came back, charged the Cav, and you know, we see some disordered Sicilian units there. Mixed fight. Nothing much happened there. Had Godfrey move forward further, and then, kind of exciting, Tancred moved to his infantry. Oh, these guys want to retreat. They intended to. They're allowed to retreat before combat. They fired, disrupted the infantry a little bit. They don't really want to fight. There may be advantages to it. Let me see. Let's see. Pike against heavy cav. Yeah, the heavy cav does better than the pike. Oh, no, this is medium cav. Yeah, they're about even. And on the other hand, the medium cav against the pike is even. So they'd rather get free shots in than actually fight. And they don't particularly want to fight infantry. Infantry is to their disadvantage. They shot them up as they came in and then pulled back. Standard Muslim tactics, or Middle Eastern tactics, actually, because the Byzantines were doing the same kind of stuff. Not the ones here, though. The ones here, what do we got? We got some somewhere. No, they're down here. They're just infantry. Okay, and now we're back on the Seljuk turn.